Warning: the author of this story has tagged it with the following explicit tags: suicide/self-harm and death. Listener discretion is advised. Hello everyone, welcome to Rainbow Infinity. Today I'll be reading DopplerEffect's The Way You Look at Me. If you like the reading, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Please enjoy. Twilight, we need to talk. The first time we met after you perfected the spell, you were ecstatic, buzzing even, flying all over the place and teleporting mid-word. You had to tell some pony. I could tell it would have hurt you physically not to. I never understood the logic behind it, despite how many times you tried to explain. Something about crossing the time stream with itself in a paradoxian triple butterfly loop? It still confuses me years later. But still, going back in time 36 hours is quite the feat. It was the only time I saw you happy to have cast that spell. Every other time was accompanied by some horrifying series of events. The second time was to prevent Fluttershy's death. Some wannabe powerful villain figured out that since Fluttershy lived alone, and regularly spent multiple days without coming to town, she was an easy target. And he was right. With your spell sending you back 36 hours, you barely had time to bring Fluttershy to the hospital, and you needed a few more loops to make sure they figured out the right poison in time. At the time, I didn't realize how much I would grow to take your word at face value. Fluttershy hadn't started showing more significant symptoms than a slight fatigue, and we can all be overly dramatic. Us too, most of all. From start to finish that day, you looked terrible. It took so much work convincing us. We were arguing as you carried her to the hospital. You never gave us a hard number of times you restarted, but it must have been over 15. 2 weeks. That's also when you told the others about the spell. Despite the inner teacher in you, you had wanted to keep it a secret. As clever and advanced as that spell was, and from what you told me it also taught you many things you have applied elsewhere, such a spell's existence shouldn't be widely known. Its potential for damage was incalculable. Eventually, I learned to spot when you were looping. I'm sure the others did too, but they never told me. We didn't like to talk about it. About the us's that were left behind in those loops. I think you noticed, because you didn't tell us every time. But darling, I know about more of them than I'd ever admit to your face. There were many things that gave you away. The unnaturally smooth way you would walk, how you replied too quickly, leaving just barely not enough of a pause before speaking, how you had answers and plans for things you shouldn't have seen coming. It always looked like a rehearsed play. You got better at hiding it, but we got better at spotting you too. Your most obvious tell was always your eyes. You could never lie with them, no matter how much you tried. I could tell how bad of a day we were going to have, and who was going to have the most miserable time based on how you were looking at them. The worst days were the ones where you looked sorry. It meant you'd tried to spare us, and maybe you figured a way to get the worst away from us, but not all of it, and it tore you up inside. I've always wondered how long it took for you to give up on something. How long before the mighty perfectionist that you are simply gave in to the world. How old are you, really? If you count the weeks, months you spent that never existed, did it amount to years? Sometimes I'd notice just moments before it happened, like when Rainbow Dash's cloud home was destroyed because you couldn't both be powering the shield protecting Ponyville and keeping it safe. We watched it crash down, except you weren't watching it. You were watching her. As much as she raged about having lost her Wonderbolts trophies, she wasn't ever upset at you for it. You weren't the one who decided to cause some havoc. You simply had to make a choice on who to save, and between all of Ponyville or her home, and you made the right one. Other times, I'd noticed much earlier in the day, like with Pinky and Cheese. You learned a valuable lesson that day, didn't you? Sometimes 36 hours isn't enough. You would have needed to go so much further back to be able to help. Today I noticed when you passed by me to get a coffee. Red-eyed and jittery, you weren't even hiding it anymore, catching that falling muffin behind the counter. Pinky noticed too. All you did was glance at me. That's all you needed to do for me to know. It's been a rough month for all of us. Ponyville had to be evacuated as the Everfree grew and took it over. You looped that whole week, I know, getting slightly further each time, making sure you were having a perfect run. The princesses weren't happy to learn of your spell, and I don't blame them. But like all of us, they agreed you'd made the best out of it, especially last month. You agreed to shelve it once the current crisis is over. But will you really? I don't think I saw you sleep at all. I really need to actually ask you, not just wonder to myself, how much your life was spent on time that never was. But this morning, you didn't look exhausted. You looked spent. Not at your limit, but past it. I asked for some of your time, and you agreed to come by later as you were busy. I knew you would be. All the princesses have been. But I wanted to be, if not ready, prepared. I'm realizing the extent of my hubris right now as you're walking towards me. I'd laugh if I wasn't nearly paralyzed. The way you're looking at me right now, it terrifies me. Thank you for listening in. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Until next time, stay tuned.